strategy is a term that comes up a lot. And most people, when you feel stuck, whether it's in life and your job or whatever it might be, most people or some people might ask you, what's your strategy? What's your plan? The lack of good strategy often leads to people failing or being aimless. And so this notion of, just put a little image I found, without strategy, execution is aimless. Without execution, strategy is useless. A lot of people have plans, but you're not chipping away at it. So what the hell's the point of that plan? Or you're chipping away and doing stuff, but it feels more like a tactical to-do list on a daily basis. It doesn't sum up to it. And there are a lot of components of how strategy has changed significantly. I think more significantly now than ever before, where just everything is moving so fast. So should I just go to the next slide?
And I'm trying to think of like how to boil this down, what we wanted to teach. And the way I think about where I think things go wrong is that the old way of succeeding was you had a plan and you followed the plan. I think the biggest challenge now for everybody is that the new way is drafting, like to draft. It's a draft. It's a plan that's it's an iterative plan, right? So the word draft, we keep using this phrase, visceral drafting, and I've tried to figure out like what exactly do we mean by that, right? And I think visceral means like your intuition, right? A draft is exactly what it is. It's not a solid plan. It's a draft of what you want to do. But the point is it's evolving and changing all the time. And this notion of everyone's looking for direction. We all want direction in life, direction in projects, direction for our kids, direction in everything. Like that's a guiding tool for us, but you have to set the direction yourself. I think this is where what the biggest challenge is for everybody is that you have to set the direction and you have to adjust to what's happening and you have to be resetting it every day. And I think that's where kind of a lot of the resilience and having difficult conversations and being honest and all the stuff we talk about on defense, we call the mod 1 through 3 that we have. You need all that so that you can keep adjusting to what's happening. And I think that's where people are failing the most is they're not adjusting to what's happening. There is no plan. There's a draft of a plan and it's constantly, you need to evolve it. You need to adjust to it. You need to iterate.
I'm going to add a nuance where because things change so much, there's so many variables and there's so much information changing so fast. Some people might say, and that's why plans are useless. I don't like the plan. But the benefit you get from even having a draft of a plan, even if it's anywhere directionally accurate, you will have a 5x, a 10x benefit than showing to a situation with no point of view, no plan. And so there are these two extremes where those of you who are like, remember in Pretty Woman, the sphincter police, right? So you're like, I don't like to do anything until I get my plan and I plan perfect and whatnot. Like what you will see is the value of the plan is not going to be as great as you think because your ability to predict accurately what's going to show up and what's going to happen is near impossible. So then the flip side is, and that's why I don't plan, I just kind of vibe and go with it. Well, the benefit of someone who has a thought, a plan coming into a situation, the accuracy of it goes up over time. And when you have a better draft of something that you want to get done, your ability to pounce on it, to press into it, to be able to capitalize on it, materially higher. So this notion of too much planning, really bad nowadays, but no planning doesn't work either. And so you have to figure out kind of what is this change dynamic? And it's a new dynamic that people are struggling to get accustomed to.
It's like over planning and over vibing. No good. And then this other thought, and we're going to come back to a lot of these different topics. I like something Charlie said yesterday, so I just wanted to put it in here, like a bigger piece of the slide in here, is that the notion of risk taking, right? And this is, again, we're talking about winning in life. We're talking about succeeding. We're talking about offense, how to play offense. That's what risk taking is, playing offense. It has risk. But the notion of sitting still actually creates risk. Playing aggressive creates risk. And I struggle with this, right? Playing aggressive creates risk, and I worry a lot on the downsides, and I'm a much lower risk tolerance than Charlie. But this recognition that only one of those states creates upside. Like bad things happen when you're sitting still. I think we think, well, I'm not pulling the trigger on something. I'm not going aggressive. I'm not taking risk. So I'll stay safe, but safe, you can get hurt playing safe, right? This is where like you could be over aggressive, and people who are like super aggressive are like, yeah, that's why I take risk all the time. That's no good either, which is why you have to know where you sit. I have a much higher risk intolerance, say, than Charlie. He has a higher risk tolerance than me, but he's also really good at looking at downside of taking risk, right? Himself, but also will run it by me. So as a team, I feel we balance each other out pretty well on this. But as an individual, I struggle taking more risk myself. But this notion that only one of those states will actually create upside. You could get lucky sitting still. You could get lucky, right? But it's like, do you really want to play life where just hoping by sitting still and taking it, the safer road is going to create an upside for me? Like that's risk.
And the one nuance I feel, like you still have glitter in this, but that's a different story.
It's coming out of everywhere. I can't get it off. And I lost my voice.
There's one nuance, and I think this notion of sitting still, getting lucky.
Yeah.
What I think has happened is to be able to win in anything, it requires several wins in a row. And that ability to compound wins in a row almost does not exist if you sit still.
Right.
Meaning, if you don't grab it by the bull by the horns and actually generate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 like wins in a row in the same direction, nothing happens. So that notion of just sitting back and hoping for, when COVID hit, grocery stores did well. When COVID hit, e-commerce did well. And you saw even all of those. Everyone that went up went back down and lost everything anyways. The notion of actually keeping something that you can control and own, there's a notion that you have to really learn the skills of human agency, like high agency as a human being. I'm just going to share with you the conversation Megan and I had at breakfast. So there's a lot more in here. So I just kind of thought I'll...
By the way, we are going to go through lessons on strategy and setting direction and reality and all that. It's obvious. We're going to get to it.
It wasn't interesting.
No, I just meant like it's going to get more technical. Yeah.
So how often this happens, right? It's not going to plan. Knicks are down by 29 points, right? I think it was going into the third quarter or so. Like how do you not give up? Strategy and execution has almost always been attributed as the key to win. If you have good strategy and strategy that's getting stronger and stronger, it's going to help you win. If you execute well against strategy, it's going to help you win. But the challenge of the two is that there's a gap between the two. There's always a gap. And one of the nuances, and we'll go through this in detail in the leadership and practice, is how to see them as two different exercises. A lot of people try to do it all at once.
Right.
You try to come up with strategy. And strategy oftentimes is simply giving yourself the permission to be able to even say the words, in the ideal, I would like this to happen. Right? Yeah. In the ideal, I want this to happen. And a lot of times we don't say that because we're like, well, I have to think of every constraint and whatnot, which is the reality. So I can't even brainstorm an ideal scenario.
Right.
And keep in mind, in every one of these cases, the more you rep strategy, the more you rep saying in the ideal, you will get more and more, I don't want to say realistic, but it will be more beneficial, more valuable. The less reps you have, your ideal will be like literally like a childhood fairy tale ideal with like unicorns and like what's the whole think about the kids Lego movie where they have like the unicorn that gets angry and whatnot, and that's literally what happens. You have a unicorn with a horn in it, and then eventually it gets like, super angry. I forgot what it is. Tom knows it. Yeah, the Lego movie. But
unicorn that gets angry.
It turns into an angry unicorn. But the point being, like, when you're really bad at it, that's what it does. It literally sounds like pie in the sky. And most people kind of look at you like, okay, great. And then you turn freaking angry against it. Like, you're just bad at it is all it is. The more you rep it, you will get better.
Yeah.
And that strategy will be valuable. It'll be beneficial when you execute. The less you're repped at it, it literally is not only worthless, but can be even harmful at times, but you have to push through past that stage. Execution, very similar. The less repped you're at it, like the reality when it hits, you just feel like, oh my God, like there's nothing works, you give up. Versus the better you are at it, you learn how to adjust just faster. So bridging that gap between ideal and reality is what we're going to spend a lot of the class on. Other topic, this is something that we've always heard a lot. Strategy and execution cannot be divorced. But of course, phrases like this sound good in concept, but how do you actually do that? When the world's moving so fast, right? And you're like saying you can't divorce the two, but you have to divorce the two to be able to learn the skills. How do you do that? How do you do it every day? How do you like keep iterating against that? Megan said, everyone's looking for direction. This is the biggest challenge we see across almost every workplace. For every single person, even if you're an entrepreneur by yourself, you're looking for someone to give you direction. You might be thinking it's someone on the internet. It might be a book. It might be, looking for like a signal from God, or it might be a sign from the birds or weather or whatever thing you want to look at. Like the place you're not looking is, of course, at yourself. It is you that has to set direction. It is you that has to adjust and execute. And this is an all the time sport. It's not just like kind of once and done. And I think that's why it's a continuous skill, and is something that, so we'll spend more time over that over time. But that's what Megan put. The old way is the plan. The new way, actually, I changed your word draft to drafting. Like I like this notion of always kind of drafting. You're drafting all the time, meaning once you start to realize the power of the human mind, the power of sort of what our judgment and what our mind is doing, it's absorbing data points all the time. It's sense making.
It's a simple way to say this. Maybe I could be overcomplicating it to simplify it. Isn't it just thinking? I mean, thinking out loud.
but so yes and no, because for example, so here's the dark side of thinking, mental trap. Imposter syndrome. I'm thinking, and you can also think your way to performance anxiety. You can think your way into losing confidence. You can think your way to be your worst critic.
Okay, so
you can find a way to let your mind run amok so that it's actually almost stop thinking would be a better tool for you than the thinking you're doing.
So we'll say thinking mod 1 to 3, which is to reduce all the mental chatter and all the bad. We're saying drafting is part of the thinking. It's for like 4 to 6.
I think of visceral drafting kind of the new version of the old strategy or the old plan.
Right.
It has a purpose. It has value to do something. It's not like, well, I'm thinking and my mind goes into, I wonder if Buddha is better than God and Allah. I mean, that's thinking is so generic versus when you think of a plan, you think of going to battle, you think of going to war, you think of accomplishing something.
Yeah.
A lot of people keep talking about goal setting and goals. Like it's much harder to drive your life now on goals and metrics alone. And so the nuance of instead of coming up with a number or a metric and then reverse engineering to how do I hit that when the whole thing is made up, there's a difference of having a live working mental model, a plan of how you see winning. And how you see winning from a strategic standpoint, but how you see winning of even how do you start? And that's what we call a VX versus a V1, which we're going to go into detail. And I just put in red here, this is the most common reaction. When you get people to talk, what's going on in your head? What are you thinking? What do you want to get done?
Yes.
Let me think about that. Let me get back to you. Right? That is a very, very old, bad habit.
I think we were saying this morning at breakfast that that's the skill. I think that's the last few days we were talking about what is it that we all want. Charlie and I believe the world needs to get better at. Everybody needs to get better at to succeed. Is actually the muscle of like your intuitive thinking, right? Like right here, right now. Those speaking classes like Toastmasters and all those. I think there's a public speaking tonight. Yeah. We do that for public speaking, but we don't do that for thinking. Like
planning your life.
Speaking more.
What are you going to do?
What do you think you should do and how should you succeed and what do you want in life and how do you get it? That's where you should be forcing yourself to like right here, right now. Like, no, let me think about that. Oh, good question. I'll get back to you. But we're so trained to do that. Like, let me go think about it. No, right now. And that we're stuck at it, right? Which is why isn't that the skill we're trying to get better at?
We did a call Thursday on improv.
Yes,
right?
Improv.
Can you imagine doing an improv session and the person's like, so you like give them a word or a scenario and they're like, let me think about that. Let me get back to you.
Right, you can.
And that's literally what we have trained ourselves to do.
Right.
We think it's the smarter move to say those phrases. Let me think about that. Let me get back to you. Versus your mind's already thought about it. You have to learn to rep and give it permission and eventually refinement to make it stronger at first kill those phrases and go into like, okay, here's my sense making, here's my approach, here's my plan. That visceral drafting is what we're going to go into. So,
and of course, if you're thinking, well, aren't there places to say, let me think about it? Of course, this is like real life and real world. I'm saying we're imbalanced at that. At such a significant level. There's probably a very few places in your life where it's so risky that you can't say what you're actually thinking and need to say. Let me think about that for a minute and get back to you.
So I'm going to show you the messy version before we go a little cleaner. So this was the slightly messier version that we kind of built off. In the upper right, I say always playing offense. The notion of always playing offense is basically this notion of visceral drafting so that you are literally ready to go to battle all the time. And what Megan mentioned on top here on the upper left, sitting still creates risk, as in bad things still happen and bad things will continue happening. Plus good things never happen. And as a result of that, you end up more and more anxious. And so what I put over here, and this is one of the key lessons in leadership, you have to build a dislike that's greater in sitting still than taking risk. Meaning your uncomfortableness in sitting still has to be greater than your uncomfortableness of taking risk. And that is a learned skill. And what I put at the bottom is this, the opposite of this is as an individual and as an organization, as a team, you're in motion. You need to be in motion. And that notion of like not only physically in motion, but you need to be in motion, just kind of in your mind, in your thinking, in your strategy, your execution. And that's where you want to get to. And that is a learnable skill. And so in this piece, I've broken down there's work on the mindset, and we're going to peel back into that maybe a different leadership class. This whole notion of, we talk about gratitude as one of the elements that helps you get into the mindset of abundance, as opposed to feeling like nothing works, scarcity, my cup is always empty. It's a muscle you can build, but there is a completely different muscle in actually building the right mindset to take risk. I can't remember what I call it. I'm calling it hard mode stories. So this notion, so we'll cover this in a different class. It's too big a topic, I think, for this. But the strategy, it not only includes VX, but also includes V1. VX is kind of your ideal, but V1 is how to start. And so we'll go into kind of how people do this wrong and then executing and sort of all the pieces that go wrong. So the first part in making ideal, there are two most common edge cases that people fall back into. You're too idealistic, right? Or you're too constrained. And so we've probably all met people who are skewed and imbalanced in one of these two areas. And even someone who is skewed in that area, you'll see in some obscure another part of their life, they're totally flipped. So all human beings we do both. Yeah. But when it comes to where I want to say what matters most in our life, you will see we tend to be imbalanced on one side more than the other. So too idealistic, too constrained. And then, of course, the biggest challenge that comes in reality is you go into reality, it ends up not working out as you planned, or ends up being much more difficult than you planned. And so that notion of turning into hard mode, when you came in expecting it to be easy, expect it to be normal, we don't make that adjustment. So we broke down the steps for both of these of how to better navigate this. So that's the class we're going to teach. So I was going to cover two pieces first of the wrong ways, why people get stuck in their thinking, stuck in their mental models and life and whatnot. And I'm going to start off by kind of walking you through this Twitter thread where I call this leadership in theory, lit versus lip, right? Leadership in theory sounds good. It sounds great when you read it, but I believe that it is so near worthless because you will see that it's very, very difficult to apply. So I'm just going to pull up that thread so you can see it. Okay, so a second here. Okay, so most valuable skill in the world, decision making. This guy studied Naval and Elon Musk, how they make decisions. And so here's how the decision make decisions in world-class entrepreneurs, right? So first principles thinking, if you've heard about it, it's a go down to these fundamentals. Everyone's talking about it almost to nauseum. And I have like I think it's going to just get you in trouble. So it doesn't work as well as you think. Goal setting, you need a clear goal. That comes up a lot. Make hard decisions. You've heard this phrase, easy choices, hard life, hard choices, easy life. So again, all these things are kind of like good in high level theory, but it's like, be kind and be nice and treat everyone like your neighbor. And then you go and bomb countries and whatnot. It doesn't work quite as well as you think. So spend more time on big decisions, what you do, where you live, who you're with. Yeah, like I have like a whatever, like it's like nice, but it doesn't apply when you're stuck on a daily basis. Ask the right questions, right? So how many people have gone and figured out how to memorize? Oh, like it's almost like I have a running list of right questions to ask.
Yeah.
It gets annoying as shit. Like, so just memorize the shit and go with these memorized thoughts, which is kind of what everyone's doing is keeping, the 80-20 rule is talked about to nauseam. Like it's like great once you figure out when things are working. In hindsight, it's like all like just prioritize long-term, yes, but tell me when you feel short-term pressure,
right.
Like, are you sure you're making the right choices and sacrifice for the long-term? Tame your mind. Yes, always tame your mind. But good fucking luck when your mind's racing, how to tame it, right? And if better decisions come from tamer minds. Yeah, but if you're too tame and too stoned or whatever it is, like good luck on that one too. Creative tasks, deep work, thinking time, shallow work, prioritize understanding. Once again, in theory, yes. Energy mapping. Once again, in theory, yes. Prioritize passion, right? So it feels like play. You're never working. Good luck feeling like you don't work every day, right? Keep it simple. Yes. Good luck when everything's so complex, keeping it simple. And then use like gazillion frameworks, the EDO system, eliminate, delegate, optimize, right? Eisenhower matrix, right? Like kind of figure the shit out. Like, and so, hey, do all these great things, right? Like, and I'm like, good luck, right? I think there is so much of this theory of how to operate effectively. There's an overabundance of advice. And what always happens and what matters most in any field is proof is in the adoption. We would all be like trending towards becoming Elon Musk if it was that easy. I think even Elon Musk can't explain what the hell he's doing. There are so many things happening at such a fast speed in their own intuition, their own judgment. To be able to break it down is what people do so they can sell a book or sell a tweet. When it comes down to actual adoption into your life, very little actually translates. So in practice, it's like, okay, these things all kind of I agree with, but doesn't help me get unstuck. Doesn't help me when I'm trying to figure out how to pay the bills. Doesn't help me get the promotion. Doesn't help me figure out when I'm having conflict with a coworker or a friend or a roommate or a spouse or children, how to get like, and someone will utter, well, can you apply the 80-20 rule and do an EDO system, map our energy, and we'll spend more time on the long term? I just want to say, go fuck yourself, right? So it doesn't work so well. All right.
You're not fired up on this topic at all.
We mapped this out actually in the last, like we had this 11-day trip. And I thought this was very helpful. So I want to share this. We called it the version 4, version 5. A lot of people are stuck either with bad ideas or no ideas. And stuck occurs in version 4 or 5. Most people, when they're coming up with an idea what to do, I would argue that it probably shows up in version 4 or version 5, meaning in the old world, this version 4 or 5 was what people celebrated as an idea in a meeting.
Yeah.
Right? You're contributing to the discussion. I have an idea. It's worthy enough. And so people mention it. I am now calling that the new shitty idea. And it's the reason why it's a shitty idea. It is neither worthy or inspiring enough for you to keep going and not giving up. But it is also not actionable.
Right. I think this is to me like a huge insight that we had last week or the week before, that, like that feeling when somebody gives you advice, why don't you guys just do this? I've never been able to explain why I'm so frustrated when people do that, but I think this actually explains it, which is that doesn't seem exciting nor motivating enough for me to go after that. Like it is my job and my mission in life, nor do I have any idea how to begin in any way. And it's just like a thrown out random idea. You guys should go do this. Why don't you guys work on this? How come you guys don't do that? It's like, what? Like, where does that even fit? You know, it can be very, not necessarily idealistic. I think you can be really idealistic and too high level. Like I want peace on earth, which is kind of like it's not going to help you do anything, right? Like that needs to get refined. But I think it's like this middle ground where it's not necessarily on its face a bad idea. So you almost feel like, why don't we do that for a second? But you're like, why will that not work? It's like that feeling, why is that not going to work? Where you're in a meeting and you're like, I don't know why, but I want to say, thanks for your thought, but kind of no thank you because I don't know where to put that. Like there's something weird that happens where it's like, it's not exciting and you have no idea where to begin. It's just some random, I don't know. I can't think of an example right now. That maybe was helpful,
unlearning what literally pops out of your head, pops out of your mouth. It pops out into advice giving, which is all V4, V5. It's unlearning and recognizing that is literally neither inspiring nor actionable.
Yeah.
It's shitty. It's shitty. It's a disservice to someone who's trying to figure stuff out. It's a disservice to yourself. And instead, replace it with learning how to brainstorm on the edges. Brainstorming on the edges at the high level, the VX. This is something that once you start drafting the right VX, it should ignite you before it ignites other people. This is one of the nuances that I've seen people do wrong. You don't even sound excited by your own idea, but you want me to buy into it? It should make you so freaking excited. You can't wait to go do it. It's almost like you're unstoppable. And as a result of it, you will ignite others. This done right generates motivation. Motivation for yourself, first and foremost, before getting to other people. On the flip side, V1, when you draft good V1s, it's a way to start. I put generates momentum, but technically it's like you generate ignition, meaning you need the spark. Like the first step has to be worthwhile, generates a spark, and then can you keep adding onto it with rapid decisions, rapid actions, following it so that you generate the unstoppable momentum is where you want to get to. Learning how to brainstorm in these edges as opposed to where we're trained to do is come up with an idea that's like, it's like good enough directionally in the zip code, but I don't quite know how it starts. How do you action? Yeah. But I also don't think that when something goes wrong, you're like, you know what? Hell or high water, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
There was a video I was watching. I think it was Bill Gurley, one of those venture capitalists. He was saying Jeff Bezos has one of the largest, most impressive list of just angel investments. How the hell does this guy find time to make such amazing investments? And the one thing he peeled out from studying and spending time with Jeff Bezos was that Jeff Bezos looks for just one key trait in an entrepreneur. Like, no matter what, they will not stop. That notion of just like the Knicks last night, right? They will not give up. They will not give up. And when someone who doesn't give up, and remember, there's a lot of you who are extremely obtuse, extremely broken, poor, and just going nowhere and say, I don't give up. That's not a skill. That's just no good. You have to actually find the skills so that your VX gets you so fired up that you are relentlessly pursuing something big. That's what VX represents. It's worthy. It's inspiring, not only for yourself, but then a lot of people do that. Well, I like to keep it to myself and keep it quiet until I get traction because it might embarrass me. I don't want criticism. Like, you don't need to, if you're playing scared, your plan ain't very good. If you can't have your plan eventually tested through other human beings and it doesn't ignite them, that means it's not very good. You have to get repped in the practice of wanting to expose what you're doing, because no matter what you want to do, I promise you there's information you do not know. I promise you there's somebody holding some piece of info that will materially help you accomplish your VX, accomplish the bigger plan. At the same time, even your V1, there are people all around us that literally might have one data point that will better what we want to do. And so but then once again, there are nuances of how you got to get there first before you get the feedback. So feedback too early is something that most people kind of falter and fail. So So we're going to go into that, but that gives you a flavor of kind of whether it's leadership in theory, right? And so if you want to keep digesting those books and tweets and, videos and whatnot, at some point, just know enough. Like it ain't going to change anything in your life. Mm-hmm. You have to learn how to do it in practice. And when you look in practice, you'll see getting stuck is what happens for most people. If it was so clear, you'd wake up every day so freaking fired up, you can't even go to bed. Right? Not because you learn how to use AI and I'm like just having so much wow, this stuff is so cool. Build something of value. That means you will see value creation. You will see other people coming around you saying, I want to be part of that. When that happens, it's working. The actual proof shows up. It's not just I'm just having so much fun, right? I'm fired up and, making no money, getting no progress and no interest from anyone, but I'm so fired up. You will see that it might actually be horrible, wrong direction stuff. So, and the reason is because the other people will eventually prove out things of value, but you got to start with yourself, which is a nuance. Okay. So right ways, leadership and practice. So a little bit of a dense diagram before it gets even more dense, but, we mapped this out. And we don't know what the right phrasing is. Over time, I'll get better, but I put defense versus offense. So we're going to spend most of the time going into offense. Sorry, it's supposed to be a little.
It is. I can see it on mine. Just can't see it on there.
Let me do it so you can see it better.
I can't see it.
On the Zoom, you can see it.
Yeah, on the Zoom, you can see it. I don't know why on there you can't. So
I'll do it so you can definitely see it. Okay. How's that? Let's see. So we're going to spend more time on the right side, but I want to talk about this a little bit. Over the last, I'd say 10 years or so, we ended up developing 6 different modules of how to train the human skill. The left side, I call it defense. Defense is module 1, 2, 3, and we have incredible career moves and changes that occurred in people by just training on defense. And what we've seen them do is in their own careers and promotions and success have seen a 2 to 5x. So it's not a 2 to 5%. We're talking about an integer multiple increase in performance, in pay, in, kind of job responsibility by mastering module 1, 2, and 3. And what defense does, it gives you the level of strength that you can deal with anything. You can deal with anyone. You can deal with any constraint. And one of the things it does is it makes you really pleasant to work with. Despite the constraints, despite the difficulties, you're like a pleasant human being to brainstorm with, work with. When you have something difficult happen, the people that you want to avoid versus the people you're like, I go to them when difficult stuff happens. That's who you become. It's the beginning of high agency. And so, sorry, I'm changing a few things only because, the frustrating thing with AI is it doesn't quite listen to you. So does stuff not exactly the way you had it.
This AI is getting all the words right on mine. Then I started doing it. I'm like, it's getting none of the spelling and words right on mine. So frustrating.
I'm trying to just delete that one side. Okay.
I like how you said it makes you pleasant to work with, like the resiliency and right, because you're being honest. It's easier to have difficult conversations. Live stream, you're getting more truth. So you're more pleasant to work with.
I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase, why do cars have brakes? If you ever watched the old cartoon, maybe most of you probably haven't heard of this cartoon, Flintstones. Remember the Flintstones where oh, that's Kathy. Sorry.
Yeah, I love
it. But with the Flintstones, they move the car with their feet, which means they also use their feet for brakes.
Yeah.
The whole notion of why do cars have brakes is not to stop. It's so that you can go faster. If you have brakes, you can go fast. And in that sense, you can't play offense. You can't take risk if you don't have the ability to deal with difficult conversations effectively, quickly. If you can't bring down your mental chatter, your mental spiral, if you can't take feedback, you can't play offense. And so we have seen massive movement in people's careers and success just on mastering defense. And that is a 2 to 5x benefit. But playing offense, as in forget about dealing with anything. You can now go on the offense and pursue anything, as in you can do anything you want to do, and you can do it with incredible speed, incredible leadership, as opposed to, I really want to plug into someone else's plan. No, you can be the driver, the leader of that plan, whatever that may be. That's offense. And this is the piece that we have been building the components for modules 4, 5, and 6. I think in many ways, the biggest unlocks of it came from this giant federal trial we had. And I think the culmination of almost 3 years breaking down the nuances of how we beat the federal government, that helped unlock what's showing up in modules 4, 5, and 6. It's this notion of how to do strategy, how to do execution, how to bring it back and forth. And what will show up, though, is as you play offense, you will need the skills on defense. And so, we put some of the lingo on the defense side, but one of the cool things we have coming up, I was going to bring this up a little bit later, is we have 6 individuals who have demonstrated the greatest success on the defense side, career-wise. And so we're going to hold a Human Advantage Summit in mid-July, and we're going to have those 6 people share their journey. So it includes a current active Air Force leader. It includes a UK Royal Navy leader. It includes someone from, Olivia from
State Street.
State Street. We're including
Sky Mark from
Locale,
Lincoln Financial.
Lincoln Financial. We're including Kathy, and we're including Greg. And so inside Next Jump, outside Next Jump, across different industries, talking about their journey and the impact it's had. And so we're going to do some cool workshops. So let people, touch and feel and ask questions to real people of how they mastered, learned, and what it did for them. And the biggest component that I think for them to upgrade next is the skills on the right side. I mean, literally, like Olivia could be on trend to be the CEO of State Street when she masters the skills on the right side. Right now, head of a big department, which is still awesome. The skills on the right side, elite human skill, truly moving not only the beginning of high agency, but first and foremost, why visceral drafting? The simplest question of it, what do I want? What do I want to do? Like this notion of like, whether it's my ideal, whether it's how to start. And you have to separate what do I want from what do I not know. There will always be information you do not know. But if you don't have your first part of what do I want strong enough, so strong that like you're so inspired, you want to pull the trigger and want to execute it, then comes the point of how do I get visceral reaction? How do I get feedback at a rapid level? And of course, rapid iteration comes from generating ignition, which is the spark, then generating momentum, which is learning how to press. So we're going to dive.
But just even in that example, I'll just give you an example right now before we go into the chart we created to share. But, if you think about what Charlie just said, what do I want is part 1. And then part 2 is what do I not know? If you don't have the left-hand side training, right? The defense, right? Truth, difficult conversations, getting feedback, you can't do the right side. You can't actually play offense because you'll stop dead in your tracks. What I want to go do this. Second, somebody gives you critical feedback, you fall apart. That's it. You can't move on.
Yes.
Right. So you have to learn how to deal with that to keep going, which is maybe that sounds super obvious, but just to be like super clear, like, in the 32 months that we've gone through this like hellish window in our lives, I noticed where we would get going on offense and kind of something we wanted to do for our trial, for our case. But then all of a sudden we stopped dead in our tracks and I'd be like, why is that happening right now? What just happened? And what just happened is I would either shut down, he might said something critical truth to me, or like all of a sudden I've got mental chatter. Now my mind is off on some risk that I'm not sure I can, all these things happen. And you're like, wait, why can't we? But you want to play offense, right? You want to get out there. You want to win. But you can't. It's so frustrating. It's like the most frustrating thing, which is why you have to learn it obviously in the arena and experience it and say, wait a minute, what just happened? You have to go through what just happened. But if you shut down, it's going to take longer, which is what would happen to me. Sometimes it would take an entire day just from one little piece.
And I always think, remember that children's book, The Princess and the Pea? Maybe some of you read it, not. This idea that, when you're like that, she and princessy, like you can take like 20 mattresses and put a pea underneath and they can't sleep because you can feel the pea. Offense is like that. It takes a pea-size issue to prevent your ability to kill it in offense. On defense, it's much more rough. I mean, you can have like peas and zucchinis that are 5 pounds and whatever else under your bed. You're like, I'm sleeping fine. When it comes to offense, the tiniest little thing will be enough to have it fall apart. have you not adjust quick enough. You have to be that light, that aggressive, that free mentally to play offense right. So this is where the work on the left is far more important than people realize, but the work on the right is actually that much harder than the work on the left.
Can you define what RABS is?
RABS. Oh, yeah. So for those of you who have done the training on the left side, RABS stands for red arrow behavior. I think there's a diagram we have where this is one of the most common things that human beings learn to do. It's our mental immune system. A RAB is our mental immune system, basically preemptively, like almost
preemptive. It's preemptive strikes to avoid critical feedback. So in fact, actually I did it yesterday. I'm going to show you in the next diagram. When I was working on a VX, an ideal scenario, this is the first one, wrong way. And I immediately self-criticized before I finished what I was saying. It's like saying, I don't know if this is right. Or it's like these little habits we have that are like, make it hard for somebody else to now criticize. Because I just criticize myself. So it's preemptively saying, don't give me feedback because I already know it's bad. But do I know it's bad, or am I just saying that because I don't want somebody else to tell me?
The training in the RABs is interesting because you'll see there are a couple of common go-tos we all have, and we develop them. It literally is like, just like our immune system protects our body, we believe this protects our mind. It protects our ego, the sense of self-worth and brand. And we do this. It could be a little laugh. It could be a little nervous tick. It could be something, but we do it in a way that makes it difficult for somebody else to give you the truth. And when you identify it and then you actually expose it and train it down, you will see not only the speed, but the volume of truth coming at you materially increases. And that, of course, makes a huge difference in winning. When you don't have the truth, it's harder to win. I mean, that should be obvious, right? You make better decisions with more accurate information. And human beings around us are always sitting on valuable nuggets of information. But when we don't make it easy for them to tell us the truth, you will see it just won't come to you.
Take down our force field.
It's like, but to realize it's your self-generated force field, it's built in an automatic nature. And as a result of it, we can rarely see it. But people around you can feel it. And it's so subtle that they will go from about to go unfiltered talking to you, and then suddenly you'll see them pull back. And it's a very subtle thing, which you might not realize, but you will, usually others can watch the conversation and be like, oh, that's right where the fork changed. It went from an unfiltered rapid fire conversation to, wait, something went cold. So RABs has been one of the most effective things people have seen, because you're preventing truth from coming to you, and it's you doing it.
So good.
It's good stuff. All right. So this is the diagram that Megan is going to, walk us through, but we're going to
ChatGPT, make it look a little easier and pretty.
So it kind of turned into this. Easier, prettier.
Right. But you're going to break it down, right?
So I'll break it down. So I'm going to start with the top side and then go to the bottom, and then we'll kind of, so I have it in my notes. So this is kind of like, AI turn into image, which I can't tell if that's easier to understand. First, this notion of VX, the ideal, like giving yourself permission to say, in the ideal, I want this to happen. In that ideal. And we've talked before about the notion of Eden, thinking of the Garden of Eden. So the first thing you have to realize first is, doing any mental exercise, we tend to do a lot of things the wrong way. And once you start muddling up the wrong way, even if you add the right stuff, it just won't work. So you have to actually unlearn your own wrong things you're doing. Once again, too idealistic or too constrained. So one of the first things, when you start saying, okay, in the ideal, I want this lip class to go like this. The self-criticism that you can throw in immediately following it, it's a bad habit, is, well, maybe it's too idealistic. Maybe that's too this. Like, you
start shitting on it before you even let it get out. I mean, the words Charlie used with me yesterday is like, you're not letting the idea grow because you're already cutting it off, right? So some of you may not have this bad habit, but I think it's a common one where, because I think putting out a VX is really hard to do, this ideal thing that you want, it's a vulnerable thing to do, because you're like, this is what I want, like in my life, in this project or whatever. It's a bad habit for a lot of us to just start to shit on it before we even get it out, right? So you don't even let somebody else react to it. And so now I won't actually know what Charlie's thinking because I'm cutting it off at every, right?
And this notion of
So he just said, bite. I said, what do I, he's bite your tongue. I said, bite your tongue. Don't like learn to just not self-criticize.
Yeah. Visceral draft the ideal, right? And I wrote here, you are the reason why the ideal will never flourish. You are literally pruning it, cutting it down, shutting it down before it even has a chance to grow. And so, and why do we do that? It sounds like you're more humble. Maybe I sound less stupid.
Yes.
And I literally, as the words exit your mouth, as you write it down, you're instantly thinking about what they're reacting to. They're going to think I'm crazy, I'm unbelievable, or this, or whatever it might be. And as a result of it, you're preempting. And so that notion of self-criticism comes so quickly. It is just a habit. You have to unlearn that habit of when you are brainstorming the ideal, bite your tongue so you can keep building on it. Yep. There comes a time where you need feedback, which is number 4, but we'll go to that later.
And again, this is an example of a rap, what we're just explaining to Rona. And Laura I is saying, I do it because of fear. That's what raps are. They're protective because we fear being criticized. I mean, this is exactly why this is so hard.
And the thing that you're going to see, and this is the fear, the uncomfortableness of sitting still. When you don't have a plan, the chance of you executing something well is even that much less. And so if you can't even just take the ego hit, you can't even draft what you want to do. The fear that you need to actually raise even higher is you doing nothing. You doing nothing, you sitting still should be far greater than the fear of actually sounding stupid. Putting a plan out, right? And like just, this is something that it's a trainable, I mean, you can think about it, it's kind of a straightforward on one hand, right? Like you should be less scared of this and be more scared of not getting results, not actually doing it. So the beginnings of being able to do something well is you got to first make a plan, right? And so that visceral drafting, self-criticism, first issue. The second thing, and this is kind of a nuance that happens a lot, break the visceral drafting process by looking something up. There's a book that we give in the Leadership Academy. I think it's The Extended Mind. There was research all about even the act of trying to double click on a file or click on a link is enough to break your intuition. The reason why the use of walls and seeing everything is the act of even trying to pick up a folder, open up a document, find a tweet or an email or whatever it might be. That is enough to break your thinking. So this notion, and it sounds like if you meditate or whatnot, people are so good at staying focused and meditating. When it comes to brainstorming, they kind of suck. Everything is, I got to look this up. I got to look this up. Hold that. You look it up after. Finish your visceral drafting. So do not break your visceral drafting. Once again, this is just a bad habit. The act of just clicking and looking up a single thing is enough to break your intuition. And so this is another common mistake people make in visceral drafting. Okay. Number 3, the wrong order. We tend to do this in the wrong order. One of the most common things we do is we start with what's easiest.
It's interesting because I had 3 things yesterday when I started my draft. I started with the easier thing. Then I got to the harder thing, and then I got to the much harder thing. By the time I got to the really hard, important thing, it kind of out of energy. Right? Because you only have so much capacity, mental capacity, creative juice to go. And so Charlie's point was what you're doing is you're prioritizing what's coming up the soonest. I had even mentioned a draft for leadership and practice class. It's like, what the fuck does that matter right now? Like you have so many more important, like it matters, but
much
all relative to the other stuff. But I started with that first. Well, there's a date to it. It's scheduled. I think it's a really easy.
It's tomorrow. It's coming first.
The thing that's coming up, the thing that you have on your schedule, you start drafting that first.
We tend to have this view that if I can knock some of those things out of the way, I can then think for the hard stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Which is why we say, write your to-do list. You find places to park whatever it is, saying that it has a home. I will get to it. But visceral drafting is very much like when you work out. So for those of you who are really muscled, right, and who like to do like strength training, what do they always say? Biggest muscles first. You don't start by saying, let me start with the tiny muscles and then build up to biggest. They start.
I just wonder why they do abs last in every class you go to. And they start with legs and the hard stuff first. Yes. That makes so much sense now.
Same concept.
The most energy is the most important muscles go first. So you can use the best energy for that versus you go all out on something that's easier. By the time you get to the hard stuff, you're just done. Right. So
like put the most energy, the most effort into the biggest muscles, then move to the littlest. So this is, once again, just a bad habit. It's a thing that you have to unlearn, and it's a discipline you have to build. A discipline you have to build that when you're visceral drafting, ideally you get to a place where you're doing it every day. You're actually very intentional in the order. In the wrong order literally makes it wrong.
Yeah.
What you'll find is that every time you're doing this, you never get to the most important thing in your life. So you keep getting all the little ones knocked out, right? And then what you'll find is nothing moves.
Right.
The results don't move enough. Nothing moves materially, where even if you get stuck, you have to learn the discipline of attacking the most important thing first. And that most important thing is not because the time schedule is next, it's the next meeting. It's not, this is once again, just a rep thing that will take time to build.
Right.
Last piece in here that was important, feedback too soon or feedback too early. Now, what I mean by that is this: it's not inspiring enough yet. As in, you're not even inspired to do it, but I want to get feedback.
Yeah.
A lot of people have that. I'm stuck, and maybe someone else can actually get me unstuck. I'm going to share my rough, half-assed version, and then maybe your reaction will help drive like the rest of my strategy.
It's not necessarily bad to share with somebody. I'm stuck on something I'm working on and just be repping it and talking about it, like sharing it with somebody. But if you're looking for them to give you, you kind of know when you're trying to bait someone in to tell me what to do. Is this good or bad? And you're trying to get direction. I think that's maybe the nuance, right?
Yeah, and I guess...
I don't know. Yeah, because it's not saying you don't want to actually share ideas, share thoughts.
No, feedback too soon doesn't mean no feedback. Right? It's just that you have to build the muscle, the mental muscle, that you are drafting something that energizes you. You're so inspired to go do it that you are learning the agency. You're learning the skills to make that happen before you get reaction, before you get feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Before you figure out, okay, I want to know what I'm doing wrong, what I'm missing. You can't start with that, which is what most people end up building the muscle to. You get good at actually always building a half-assed plan. It's like not even ideal. It's like, I have a subpar VX, right? I have something that like, and once again, that Jeff Bezos investment thesis, you'll see in general, high agency folks, they're so good and so rapid because it's a muscle built where they can make a VX on anything. Literally, they can do anything, make a strategy, make a plan that like gets others excited. They're like, wow, I want to do that with you too. I want to join that. You can build that muscle. Versus the flip side is you hear someone and like literally it's like mental constipation. I feel like I'm talking to people who are constipated. Like it just feels like just painful. I'm like, ugh. Like they're like, I have an idea. It's just stuck here. I need resources. I'm macking this. And I'm like, Jesus, like, good luck, right? Because I'm not going to sit here and spend my mental energy coming up with a plan for you. And then for you to go and say, well, I don't want to do that and all that stuff. It's like, you got to learn to do it yourself. And I put number 4 last because this is where we go for reaction, for feedback on plans that even we are not inspired to do ourselves. So this is a piece that, and even looking for what do I not know? Like you should be working your ass off to figure out everything you need to know, not like make it someone else's job to figure out what you don't know. So this kind of matters a lot. Yeah. I don't know if anyone have questions on this part. We can move on to the...
You can always come back to it. Unless you guys have.
Can I ask a question? What if what you think is the most important thing to focus on shouldn't be what you should focus on? Like going back to, I tend to see myself falling in the idealistic category. So like,
yes, I would agree with you.
Right, exactly. So shouldn't that be the most important thing? But realistically, I wouldn't see it as being, if you're emphasizing order, how do you figure out what should be the most important thing to focus on?
So several things. One is what you'll see is the more you rep it, you will also be better at knowing how to prioritize the right order. Like just kind of realize without the reps, we tend to usually do everything wrong first. So we will tend to say, okay, the most important thing is just to make the world a better place. So we kind of, and then you'll see there's nothing to do though. So like, how are you going to start? And then you'll see that even nobody wants to really give you feedback. But if you have the right creds and you have the right traction, when you say, I want to make the world better, like you will get feedback. Like there's a part where it's almost like, I don't want to say the market, but the people around you will help shape. Like that's the part of training. The people in your life around you, as long as you're not surrounded by people who are deadbeats, all on drugs and doing nothing but just kind of pontificating nonstop and pumping you up as a pontificating nonsense. Like if you're around people who actually have real jobs and responsibilities and they're like sane and their time is valuable, you will see that if you can get dialogue going and you can actually see an exchange of ideas and whatnot, you will refine to the right place, which is why the defense and the rabs we mentioned matter, because you can be in a cocoon to a point where like truth doesn't come to you. So as a result of it, you might do a lot of reps, but it won't improve. Like if you go towards the right place, it's almost like whether if you go on a diet, a scale is one thing, but they always said the pants test, how if your pants get, like thinner, so you need a belt and you move your belt loops. There are many litmus tests, but the best litmus test for brainstorming, thinking, strategy, decision-making is other human beings, but there's a little asterisk. They have to be kind of normal, sane human beings, right? Some of us are just surrounded by kind of bullshitty, like nonsensical human beings. So you're just fluffing each other up and everyone's going like in misdirections. But
we were going to, just so you know, too, we were looking at that mission worksheet yesterday. We looked at yours, Aruna, mine from before the trial. We were kind of looking back at that and trying to, we're going to have a version 2 of that. I think there's some parts we need to kind of fix a little bit or like make more intuitive. But one of the things we had put on there was this notion of better me. I think most people need to figure out how to fill their cup more than there are people out there who have so much cup full that they want to spill it over. You have it. So I think generally speaking, you're prioritizing how to fill your cup. Because the more as you get your cup fuller, you can then give more, help more, make the world a better place. All the projects, I think all of us, we're all here on planet Earth to help other people. It feels so good. But that's the responsibility is you have to better me so that you can better you. So it's like even the way I prioritized yesterday, I started with this class. That's not necessarily the most important better me. Like that doesn't necessarily add that much value right now to our bottom line as a company. But I started with that. So that's inappropriate in that situation but it's to learn, wait a second, what's the most important thing right now as a company? I think for us right now, we were just gone for 10 days on our trip. Before that, we're at the trial. So we're trying to figure out how to like rebalance back to our business. But might have been different 6 months ago. It's different a few years. Like it's changing based on the situation, which is why it's like a moving prioritization, right? Like,
but one way to look at all these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, with reps, you can refine. Right now, when you do reps and you have other human beings, and this is where, once again, people use AI coach, use other AIs out there. Like it's not bad talking to the computer, but it is far more effective getting savvy, smart people reacting. And so when you're able to expose what you're doing in the reps, you'll see you can refine faster. If you do it in hiding, you'll just grow slower, and you could also be stuck and you can overbuild the wrong muscle by accident. So those are the things you have to work. But every piece, just realize, have faith that if you do it right, you will get better at it.
And there's a question. When you guys are partnering or someone throws out a BS, like I definitely do some sense of thing that's stupid. But then, like, let's say, like I'm working with these guys and someone throws out an idea. And my real thought is, I don't get it. Like, I don't normally say like, that's stupid, but I'll be like, I don't get it. Like, that is me. So like, but that's not encouraging them to like, keep at it. It's kind of shutting it down.
So most situations, there's a lot of bad things happening at the same time, right? So there's an individual who is so sensitive, doesn't really want the full truth. So they're sharing their half-baked idea, throwing in a self-criticism to preempt you criticizing them, right? And they're not even excited, but feel the pressure on a performance. And then you're thinking, I don't want to hurt their feelings, but I got to be critical enough. So do I shoot critical today or should I shoot positive? And so you're having all of that. And I'm like, you see how shitty that brainstorming session is? Don't be surprised if it's another ineffective session. Just keep going for more iterations, more reps. You will know the difference because most of us in life have tasted when an effective session happens, right? An effective interaction with someone. And literally, it's like it literally feels like generating a bonfire, log, just exploding, and it's exciting, and it's almost like, let's tame the flame. Like, how do we get there on command more often? But you have to recognize most of us experience the complete opposite, right? Complete mind games, complete like sort of like everyone's in their head decision forking. Should I be polite or should I be critical? Should I be nice to myself or should I be an asshole to myself? Should I like, and so then it's like, is that what you're really thinking? You know, the notion of why it's visceral? In the ideal, this is what I want. You'll be surprised, even we found using the words in the ideal, this is what I want, and be able to get that out. And sometimes it comes out like after a cold plunge, after a workout, or when you wake up in the morning, first thing, like, and getting the reps where you're able to literally capture your ideal thinking before it gets muddled up by life's advice, right? We are, as I showed you in the initial tweet, we are overburdened by just advice, like just how to think, how to not think, how to do this, how to do that. And as a result of it, we don't know how to build our own muscle of what do you want, Tom? And you're like, well, let's see. So remember the whole Pretty Woman? Like, what do you want my name to be? Right? If you want it to be Tom.
I was just thinking, there's an example from last week, and I won't go into all the details, but the four of us were having like a brainstorm on the offsite we had. One of the things I finally shared was, I know what I don't want. I don't want to do that. And I can sound like such a jerk. And I even said it like, God, I sound like such a jerk right now. I got to cut that out, which is, I know what I don't want. I don't want to do that idea. But then you have to force yourself, what am I trying to, why do I not want that idea? Right? Because then you're kind of an ass if you're like, I don't want that. But I said, I don't know why I don't want to do that, Charlie, but I don't want to do that. That project, I have like a big fuck no to that right now. And I don't know why. So then like it took like an oscillation for me to come back and be like, I think it's because of this. And then there's this, but it's very messy. And I think people don't want to go messy. I think I had a bit of like a reaction of, why do I have to be the asshole and say this? Are Greg and Wei agreeing with this right now? I can't tell. I think they are. That's okay. But why am I acting like they should be the one to say they don't want to? No, I don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. And then I have to then have the courage to say, I'm not even sure all the reasons why I don't want to do it, but this is maybe one piece. This is another piece. And then even live be like, what do I want? What am I trying to get at? And like, it's very messy, but that requires vulnerability, or it requires courage, or it requires having a difficult conversation. It requires maybe needing to take a walk and oscillate to it. It requires maybe some shoulder to shoulder. It might require some writing on a whiteboard. If 4 people down to 2, which we then figured out we need to go back down to 2, or remember our academy, like when you're actually trying to win and you're truly like motivated to, I don't want to be here anymore, right? I don't want to be stuck. You'll use all the tools. It's not like, well, let me just sit in the kitchen and stare at each other and just fight again. Like, it's like you just go so stupid and numb. Yes. It's like there's so many tools.
Can I add one piece? I like, but
it's more raw, I guess. And I feel most people are afraid to have like the raw, uncomfortable, ugly, messy fight. The amount of fights we had when we were in Miami, I remember thinking, we're supposed to be having fun right now. But you know what? We're not having fun right now because we're trying to go on mission. And this is fucking important. Like, and I feel a little aimless after the trial, a little bit like my life is turned upside down in a good way, but kind of in a weird, I don't have a routine. Like, we're trying to figure it out. And so we kind of went through a few days of pain, but then you need that to then have fun, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like you can fight a little bit of fighting some of the pain. I'm like, I don't want to fucking fight right now. But the reality is,
that's the defense.
That's defense.
That's the defense.
But some of those fights are so, it's like the only way through to the good side is through the hard. Like you can't just sit and brainstorm good ideas to go fix the world and maybe change your family's like life. Sorry, good luck doing that. Like sitting at it and not having any kind of meltdown, maybe a adult version of a tantrum, or like saying something you wish you didn't say, or I don't know. It's just like, I don't know.
We got good at
that's not real. Like who does that? Maybe Elon Musk can do that, but he's Elon Musk. Maybe Jeff Bezos can do that now, but he's Jeff Bezos. Like it's going to be messy until it's like not. Mm-hmm. It's going to be ugly and it's going to be maybe offensive, or you might look stupid. This is why all the defense work comes up right in the middle of that brainstorm. Right there, there's like 6 things you need to do, 6 things Laura needs to do, and you need to be, and you need to try it, and it's going to be messy, and like that's just. I mean. I had like how am I not better at this right now? I almost like that feeling of, why is this happening right now? Mm-hmm. Why do I feel uncomfortable? But then it's the courage to just be like, I'll tell you right now, what I don't want is that. And I don't know why, but And then you got to let the awkwardness come, which is like everybody's looking at you like, great, now you get to be the bitch and everybody else is going to sit there and be quiet maybe. And then you're like, now I want to tantrum and melt down or maybe walk away and tell everybody themselves it's like awful. But
so we got very good at making puree peas, right? So pureeing all the peas, right?
Yes.
So every little, piece, because it grows. It's like grows into freaking like giant beanstalk. So pureeing them fast. But there's a nuance that's important when Megan said, like, sometimes when starting this exercise, you will maybe get better at saying, this is what I don't want.
Yeah.
But you also will see some of that is too idealistic or too, so like you got to get, that also takes reps. But there's a vast difference by saying, okay, here's all the list of stuff I don't want. Yeah. Okay. What do you want? Like you'll see, you have to get to the place where you can say, but what I want, in the ideal, what I want is this.
And it might not be a project though. It might not be, this is the initiative I want to go do. It's like, there might be some fundamental basic principle. Like what I want is to focus on our business. What I want is to focus on Greg, or what I want is to work on, like, it might be like a better me or a better, you might like.
One of the things that when we made the mission worksheet that matters is you need a lot of Petri dishes.
Yeah.
You'll see that if like you can do this exercise only on one thing, which is your most important part of how you get paid your job, you're going to have no training ground. You need multiple training grounds. And often it's easier to make in the ideal, I want this for something that's less important, something that's smaller.
So those are two things that the Petri dishes, which just came to, but right before it's the who. So you were just saying that you're doing it for people. And so actually the more people you do it creates a different dynamic. How do you find the safe, quote unquote, place to actually do it, because you can literally be ostracized from groups. One, and second, on the Petri dishes, so finding that group, would you actually have your different VXs that you would, when it would be
for different projects? Yes, like our VX for our trip is very different than the VX for this class, is very different than the VX for our business or our families or our life, right? Like the trip itself, though, was a Petri dish, the trip we just went on. And we actually reflected on that in detail.
For the whole trip.
And then
just even one night, one
decisions we made on the plane for, say, going to Vegas and what we wanted, and then the fight that we had when we got there and why. Like, we went through that level because that's easier on those things than in the business.
And
right? Like what,
the same patterns show up everywhere. Per person. Meaning Megan's same patterns and my same patterns will show up. And it's often easier and almost more jovial and playful to break it apart on something that doesn't matter than on stuff that really matters.
Actually, some of it's going to come up in the next part, actually. It's one of those examples.
So can I add this whole safe place, ostracized? So what you'll find is this: you cannot escape being ostracized. And realize at some point, we don't know who is ostracizing us. And most times, maybe because of baggage from the past, you are going to be your biggest critic. And as a result of it, without even sometimes knowing, you make an adjustment. Instead of in the ideal, I have like in the ideal, but I know Arun is going to react this way or someone's going to react this way. So I've already adjusted it. And it happens so fast that you don't actually capture your ideal. You capture your after filter through all this imaginary feedback and all this imaginary criticism. Here's what it is, as opposed to like learn to adult up and take the actual criticism, because once you actually get it right, you want the criticism because it makes it better. So as opposed to seeing the criticism and the feedback as bad because it never gave me the time to grow my ideas and whatnot, you have to learn the skills to grow your idea and then just take the punches because it will make you better. And so when I think of safe place, my counterintuitive reaction was going to be learn to train in less safe places. And then you'll see it's even easier to think when you're alone or with two people. Like learn to brainstorm in more hostile environments. You'll be better at brainstorming everywhere else. Go safer and safer. You will never be able to grow beyond an even safer. And so only days when I've had at least 8 hours of sleep and I've had a good breakfast, my everything is like the sun is out, like birds are chirping, no one knowing like anything, the conditions become too idealistic. So then you suck at like, you cannot perform under constraint. So like rep and practice in constraint so that you're just better at doing it anyway.
And this last thing was the reset. So, okay, so you're going to a major argument.
Yeah.
And then all emotions, everything is shaking.
Yeah.
Time is the reset. The word is like,
No, I mean, it could even be saying like, maybe we need to go talk about it separate from them, or maybe, but out loud, or saying, well, I don't know, or should we go take a bathroom break? Like sometimes just you need a second to not be in that
Change your variable.
setup.
Usually change your variable. Right? It could be like 4 people to 2. It could be literally like change the room.
Yeah.
It could be like, like if you change the variable, but one of the things that people make the mistake on is they don't go back to it.
Yeah.
Because it just feels like, oh, we're going to go back to that discussion. Yes, because I'm still bothered by it.
Good.
But you change your variable. Don't go to the exact same spot, exact same situation. And think every time you're getting stuck, if you're not changing the variable, you're going to probably keep getting stuck and then eventually get to a place where nobody wants to talk about this. Right. And so
I think the part that you're getting at, Tom, is some of the details in Mod 6 that we're creating, which is teaming. Because even Charlie and I yesterday, we had a huge argument. And then that's what created some of this class of where we will go wrong. Like, and he's trying to understand why is he get frustrated with me when he's visceral drafting? It's because I actually don't let him finish. I'm already criticizing before he even lets it out. Right. So it's like, now that I know that, I'm like, oh, shit, I totally do that. Right. But it's easy to have an argument and not want to go back to it. And let me just get back to my computer and the project I have to work on. If you believe that the teaming is going to create better ideas, better strategy, better execution, better everything, you will prioritize that. And you'll be like, wait, what just happened? Because we work together enough. Like you and Laura work together enough. At some point, you're like, don't you need to fix that dynamic? Or like with Kathy, like you kind of have to like double down on it and say, I'm planting myself. I think there are a lot of people who don't have somebody else where they can. But if you do, you're like Mod 6 land. It is now you need to figure out what you do that makes it harder for everybody. You got to figure out what they do. And everybody has to be working. And as a team, you have to figure out like this is worthy of figuring out. It's worthy of figuring out, right? But it's going to create fights and arguments and stuff that you wish you could take back, which is why I think people suck at the teaming part, right? Because you think you can't recover. You can recover. That's the defense part. If you're better at it, you will recover, and you might not for a few days. That's the pain. You've seen us. Like, I'm like, we've been working 28 years. Even in the trial, I remember Rita was like, what do you mean you can't talk to Charlie about this? I'm like, because I know him for 28. I actually know at this point. But we had arguments. I'm like, God, can we not recover? It feels that scary. It feels that scary. I think trying to avoid that scary part is why people can't figure out how to find a teammate where you're like, I will like figure life out with you. Just because you're afraid to like break up, if you will, like have the fight that you can't return from.
Should we jump to reality? So
once
you do this part, and this part's hard, right?
Is
the next part is equally hard, but it's different hard. So
now you launched your idea, your V1, you just started, right? You just got going.
So
did something.
First thing that happens, right? So the headings in the top could be wrong for this, but starting at number 1 on the left, startled because it's harder than expected. It's not going to plan. You came in thinking this will be easy. And you know that split second when you realize shit. Like, and you might say to yourself, nothing's easy, nothing ever works out, whatever. Yeah. That moment is when you are startled. And that's literally the beginning of where things go wrong. So when you are startled, right? So it moves from 1, you're startled because this is harder than you expect or harder than what you thought. You can pretend not to be startled. Right. This is one of the worst things people do. Right. Fine. I'm like, no, you came in with a mental model of how it's going to go, and it's not going to that.
It could be you sent an email out last night. You're hoping somebody was to respond today, and they didn't.
Yep.
Startled.
Yes.
Not what I thought. Thought coming in today, that person that emailed last night was going to write back. They didn't. In fact, this happened. I was like, yeah, but we sent it at like 11:30 Tuesday night, Charlie. It's only 9 a.m. He was like, this is me pretending not to be startled, but I was startled. It's so little, but now there's a rift. Because now he's thinking, does she not feel how I feel right now? Because this doesn't feel very good, right? We thought we were going to get a reaction. I'm making the point. This one does not matter as much, but like it was a bit of a, does she not see what I see? Because I'm like, yeah, it's only 9. We sent those notes at like 11:30 last night. Like maybe give it a little more time. But the reality is I was startled. I was thinking, shit, this is going to be harder. This is going to be harder than we thought,
One of the biggest things I think from 1 to 2 is the whole give it more time, right?
What's 1 to 2?
If you realize it's harder, you will start attacking it. But when you actually have that split second fork of, wait, this is harder than I thought it would be, I'm not getting response. I thought I'd get response within like 10 minutes, an hour. And instead overnight, there's no response. Instead of accepting that, wait, it's harder than I thought, which will then make you attack it, you're going to, maybe I need to give it more time. It's one of the most common ways that people fuck this up.
Yeah.
Right? Convince yourself that just sitting still, giving it more time will make it better. And you will see as you wait, it gets worse and worse.
Yes.
Right? So one of the top ways people fuck this up royally, give it more time. Right? Versus no, it's fucking harder than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So pretending not to be startled, doing the calm down, give it more time, and to calm yourself and all that stuff. And then don't fuck yourself up. Right? So don't do that. Number 3 is blaming others. Right? It's not my idea. There's many different things. Like people quickly go into like,
I didn't want to do this in the first place, Charlie. It was your idea.
Yeah.
And no wonder why it sucks. No, I didn't want to do it anyways. Like it really is like it's a spiral. You don't admit that you're startled, that it's harder than you thought. You pretend you're okay. And now you start thinking, how do I get out of this? This is not my idea. It's not what I want to be doing. So you just start looking for ways to blame.
Yes. And it's a highly addictive ego protection mode. And it literally is it's like when you think of visceral fat and you know how that like blocks your organs and whatnot. To me, this number 3 is like a visceral mental fat of building low agency, right? High agencies. I don't care whose idea it was. I bought into it. I'm fucking getting this done. As opposed to, no, I bought into it. But now that it turned out to be harder than I thought, I am now figuring out why it wasn't my fault. Why it wasn't my idea, why it's like, and you're literally building visceral mental fat of how to be just addictive low agency. So this happens. Number 3, right? Number 4, obsession on ordinary challenges. It's because I haven't slept, because I'm hungry. This belief that if I get food, sleep, and other if I just some of this, I have so many to-dos. If I check some of these off, we obsess on ordinary challenges, acting like we don't have the mental acumen to shut those out and focus on what matters most. Instead of I always think about Jim Lear, and one of the best things from over the years he had said was, when you come home exhausted after a day of work and your kid wants to play Monopoly, you're thinking, I'd rather blow my brains out. I don't have the energy to play Monopoly. He's like, it's not true. You have the physical energy to walk 2 marathons back to back. Meaning, imagine coming home end of the day and you actually have the physical energy to walk like 52 miles, right? That's insane. Like when it's like 100,000 plus steps, you can do that. You actually have that much capacity, meaning stop being a wimp. Like stop harping and magnifying whatever this ordinary challenge is, blood sugar, blah, 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 whatever. Learn to fucking shut it down.
Remember the Jim Lear thing is the sorry, I keep getting the words out. As he would say, your family is at the end of those 52 miles and they're going to perish if you don't do it. That's the mental model that's motivating you to walk 100,000 steps, right? Just like the VX, if it's motivating enough and you can keep recalling it and thinking about it, it's easier to push through.
The only nuance I would say is, the one hand, it's true. If you have a better VX, of course, yes. But putting the VX aside, you can make up whatever narrative and shut that shit down.
Sure.
Like
Okay.
stop using ordinary challenges as a crutch for why you can't get in the game. It is just a bad habit. That's all it is. And once you recognize it and you start to break that down, you'll realize no ordinary challenge will stop you from getting focused back in the reality of making the shit work. So that just is a rep until you get this right. The last piece put over here is the helpless non-agency act, right? Like, I don't have the skills. I don't have this. I don't have the money. I don't have whatever it is. Once again, it's number 4 is slightly different than number 5 in the sense of like, the more you do this, the more you will opt out. We build a muscle of opting out versus, and remember, like, this is now going into reality. Something's happening and you're finding a way out. Like these are all your exit hatches. Instead of getting in the game and figuring out how to make it work, you're finding all kinds of exit hatches so that you learn the wrong muscle. How to be helpless, how to be low agency, how to think that it's always about food or sleep or something else, how to find ways to like so creatively blame others, right? It's the fucking president. The president creating war is what, like, or it's like today's news. It's like the social media posts. It's my fucking twin who like posted that. Now I'm pissed, whatever it might be. Like, or like, you know what? I'm fine. You sure you're fine? I'm fine. I'm like, no, you're not fine. Like, what the hell happened? You walked in and it's a split second, millisecond when you realize, shit, I thought it'd be easier than this. And you're going all wrong after that point. So going to the right side, the first part is this. So I wrote something slightly different, but we can kind of work with this. The first part is this. It's okay to be startled. When you come in something that you thought would be easier and it's not, it's just human nature to have this disconnect. And that disconnect of being startled is okay. Learn to be okay with it. Learn to expose it. It's just human nature. And if the more you try to hide it, the more you try to act like I'm tough, nothing startles me, the worse it's going to get. Just realize like being startled is because the gap between what you thought would be and what happened, the larger it is, the more startled you'll be. Right? Sometimes it's very small, so it's not a big deal. But when it is large, you have to realize and you have to know it is okay and you should be startled. If you're not startled, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? Right? Because you're thinking, we're running predictions, decision models. So startled happens. Okay. The second part, and this is kind of hard for people until you learn how to do this. So you expose a startled, right? Harder than I thought. You can own it. You can define it. You can name it. And the hard part then is to kick into hard mode. And, there's nothing wrong coming into a day, hoping today would be kind of easy. But the minute it doesn't go that way, can you then first deal with the startled and then kick into high gear? Hard mode. Like, I'm sure the Knicks came in thinking like, you know what, this game's going to be easy. And then they're down whatever many points, first quarter, second quarter. And they're like, what the fuck? Like, halfway through the game, like there's no way to win. You have to kick into hard mode. And so there is a stagger step of first accepting the startled before kicking into hard mode. And that process of 1 to 2 on the right side is actually harder than you think because there's an act of vulnerability. And I don't want to overuse the word vulnerability in this, but there's an act of vulnerability because my mental model didn't expect it to go like this. Yeah. So it's my mental model, right? And the distance of my startledness is based on how off I was in my mental model. And the less experienced that I am, I tend to get more startled. So that just means, okay, I have a weak muscle of making this correction. That's okay too. And if I'm able to wear that on my sleeve and play it right, you will see you can kick into hard mode faster. We all have the ability to kick into hard mode. The more we fight it, the more we hide it, the more we don't even see it because we try to hide it from ourselves too, you'll never get there. You'll only go spiral down the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the red side. Okay. Number 3, and this one, I think we're going to need another class for this. The notion of I can do it. And so the early thesis we have is the gratitude exercise people do is an exercise, if you've ever done it, it's an exercise that makes your cup more full. And the reason it makes your cup more full is you're supposed to say, end of the day, 3 things I'm grateful for. It's actually not about that day. Do the exercise consistently. It makes you look the next day because of the homework for the things I might be grateful for. As a result of it, instead of walking around with a scarcity mindset, it builds an abundance muscle, an abundance mindset. So that's really good for defense. Abundance mindset will matter in a lot of places versus scarcity, good for defense. But when you want to play offense, when you want to take risk, not sit still, trust me, gratitude ain't going to do shit. Like that is like putting in like nothing in your cup. You don't need water in your cup, which is what gratitude would be. Cold drink of water, right? With that movie, no. White Man Can't Jump. Need a cold glass of water.
I need a glass of water.
Yes, I too feel thirsty.
I know what it feels like to be thirsty is what I want to say.
That's gratitude. Mm-hmm. You need fucking rocket fuel, right? Like you need rocket fuel, or like if you ever watch that movie Speed with the little snail, like nitro. Like you need nitro to be able to go after this. And nitro is an exercise of intentional story seeking. So gratitude is also a story seeking exercise, But the intentional story seeking is you're looking to generate more hard mode stories for yourself. So we're going to build a whole program on this of how to build into your routine where you're looking to keep building your journal of hard mode stories, not of other people's life, but of your life. Because then when things get hard, you're like, oh, this one might be another one of those really great hard mode stories, which means things have to be really hard to be a worthy hard mode story. And the greater your stories get, you will get stronger looking for even harder things, as opposed to, like that was hard before, but it's so easy for me now, right? I want something harder, right? I was gonna make a joke, but bad jokes, I won't do it.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So that's the list of that. But I will leave you with one more thing I thought would be helpful for our community. It's a good framework.
Sorry.
It's okay. So I was going to share this. There's a video here that just really quick. Give me a second. Let me share this. And then we'll do questions and whatnot. A second. Sorry. I think Laura had put something together from like years back. It was like, I think probably one of our leadership academies at the end. And it was just a great little like 1 minute clips. I'm just going to play it because I thought it was kind of cool.
My parents both are in the nonprofit side, in the sense of my dad's goal to end world hunger, my mom being a pastor of a church. Everything was about doing more good. They took the shirt off their backs. We get sick in the process. I tell them I'm sending them money. They give money away before it even hits their bank account. This is the way I grew up. But most companies I see do this. The Fortune 1000, they're in a mad rush to make more profit. At some point, money they could not spend lifetimes over, but simply for the reason that they're competing against each other. And the connection of these equations, the part that it took me forever to learn, is that sequence matters. Sequence matters in that I thought this is what came first. Go help others find something that you're purposeful, that you're so excited about, my passion, my purpose, and go do that, and then the rest will follow. In the history of this company, we raised money 8 times. 6 of them, I put the company at the brink of bankruptcy with the interest of doing good. The person that changed my life for that was Megan. She showed me and taught me this comes first. Because if you don't better me, you cannot better you. When you give what you don't have, it is reckless, it is irresponsible. And you can hurt people in the long run. And it is something it took me forever to realize how dumb I was to think that you can do that without thinking about this.
A good little clip, Laura, that you found. I saw that. I was like, oh. I mean, you would share that story a lot. I don't remember you saying it exactly like that. I do appreciate the credit for that. That's nice. I forgot about that. That was nice.
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of us probably in our community, like identify as a giver, identify as someone who likes to help other people. But this notion of you cannot really help others and you cannot give unless you strengthen. And it's a constant laddering back and forth, but strengthen the better me side. Like the notion of to give what you don't have is reckless, irresponsible. You can hurt people in the long run. And I remember there was a Jewish rabbi we met. It was a really savvy guy. He was saying, even in the Bible, it talks about that like actually giving, I've never heard him, I have to find the exact words, but giving, like when you're not able to is a sin. I mean, I was like, what? Like, how could that be a sin? He's like, it's in the Bible, right? And kind of went through the whole process. And like I said, it takes repeated lessons to learn this. So Megan was the training partner that helped me fix this imbalance. And there's something that's so empowering about sustainable, responsible, and as a result, impactful giving. So we ended up mapping this out. We thought it would be a great little piece. I call it the ABCDs of life. There's work hard, play hard. And for those of you who know us well, you know we live by this. Like there's a notion of celebration doesn't matter, play doesn't matter, but you want to earn it. And so better me tends to come before better you, before you work hard to play hard. And then continual learning is across the whole thing. Some of you entered our life through C. Some of you entered our life through B, meaning maybe we were trying to raise money for art or for charities. Some of you entered a life through like continual learning. Some of you entered a life as a client, better me. It doesn't matter how you entered, but for every single human being, you need to build A, B, C, and D. And then if I had to group the two, I go into the edges. It's better me and continual learning slightly before B and C. And you have to constantly ladder back and forth. But what we mapped out, we're talking about is we would love, and I think part of kind of our energy back fully, not only in NextJump, on the business, no longer 90% taken fighting the Department of Justice and all the legal stuff we had to deal with, is we want to build programs to help our community get strong in A, B, C, and D, and likely starting with A and D first. We will do things of kind of impact on, whether it's helping young leaders, helping, homeless, and helping like all kinds of underprivileged groups and whatnot, which is something that I think is innate in what we do. But to be able to get everyone on a flywheel where continual learning is usually a foundation for all of it. But better me is, think of it as fuel. Like you can't do a lot if you run out of fuel. So you need to build stronger and then more sustainable, more protective mechanisms of consistently generating fuel. And as you have that and you're learning, B and C becomes easy. And it becomes a lot easier and a lot more fun. So I think that was kind of.
I'm coming at the ABCDs of life. So the ABC, did I say ABCs of life? No, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Yeah.
All right.
Great.
We'll do questions. We can jump to any slides. We can take the slides down. Oh, actually, I had a couple things in the parking lot. We have a big party coming up, 3-year delayed birthday party, plus thanking all the people who support us. So we'll get invites and stuff out. Think Saturday, July 18th, we have this group that is insane at developing the craziest parties. And I think the theme, my daughter Olivia is 12, came up with it. So you got to dress like you came to the wrong party. So I don't know if you're thinking swimsuit party, lingerie party, masquerade party, funeral, wedding, I don't know. Food competition, Halloween party. Yeah, no, seriously. Like you come with whatever it might be.
A Bridgerton ball.
Oh, yes. Or like a futuristic party, like whatever it might be. So we'll have that.
I don't have time to come up with an outfit. I'll be coming back from my vacation, but maybe I can buy something when I'm on vacation and come like a luau. Right?
A luau party. Yes. So
a grass skirt.
I think Saturday, July 18th, we are trying to get a famous singer to come to the thing. Like, so I don't know.
No,
okay.
let's keep that secret.
No, but how about I tell you? And then it might not work.
I didn't know.
But we're trying to get T.I. to come perform at midnight.
If you know T.I., you guys,
his songs were out of control and seems to have collaborated almost everyone.
Like Rihanna, with Justin Timberlake, with all Iggy Azalea.
Yeah.
Who else? Iggy Azalea too. Is it? I don't know. He was
so freaking good. So we thought like a midnight performance either on the terrace or in our middle, and just kind of would be so much fun. So
he's going to be in Washington D.C.
Yeah. So we're trying to get him here from D.C. to here that night by midnight. So that's possible. But then the 2 days prior, we're running a Human Advantage Summit. There's a lot of very cool people already wanting to go and present and share, and we're going to get the 6 individuals who had their careers grow, also kind of share their journeys. Our initial thinking was almost doing like a taste tester, like everyone who's doing some really cool stuff, sharing 5 minutes, and then you get to taste all of it. And then you can break into 45-minute sessions going into more depth and Q&A with them. So we're looking at different formats and different things. So 2 days of that, and then moving into late night party and hopefully, learning some raps, whether it's T.I. or not, or somebody else. But that was it. Oh, and the other part that we adjusted is this. So Megan and I have long overdue vacations with our family, but we're going one of the first times completely off sync. So I think the 2 Thursdays coming up next week and the week after, Megan's going to teach lip on her own. And then I'm going to teach lip.
Exactly. Look at this. I was going to maybe share some of the thoughts that I have of what to teach, and then, but we could be agile and adjust based on what it is.
Yeah.
But I think I've taught lip once without Charlie. We work together so much. Like the only time we work separately is when Matthew had his ear surgery. I was gone for a few weeks. It doesn't seem good being alone. I was like, because like if you're used to working alone, it's one thing, but like, so he traumatized me. He's like, my God, when I came back, I was like, I don't understand. I was like lost. It's like walking in circles and I'm paralyzed, whatever. I'm like, oh God, like what's going to happen to me? So it's all fucked up next week and the week after, you'll know why. But I was thinking Charlie's idea was maybe I could share some of the lessons from the trial and the case and just from what I learned myself. Maybe it's a part.
There's some really cool stuff.
I don't know, but I don't even know where to begin fully, to be honest with you. So, but I think it would be good for me. I think it would be good, like a healthy thing to do. I don't know.
Questions? I don't know. Anybody on Zoom, if you want to unmute.
Is that true?
So what's
Ellie Jeffing came about when Charlie was away? Wait, what do you mean? Tell me more.
You were in the corner office. Remember the old office?
Yeah, of course I remember the old office. Yeah.
Charlie was away.
I remember this.
You went into the office and you came out and it was like the LHF, the presentation came about. Yep.
Don't remember that at all.
Remember this.
Good things happen when you're gone.
That's when it happened.
That was like 13 years ago.
Not Nicole adding any performance pressure, but yeah, we're hoping for the next 10-year insight to come out of Megan in 2 weeks. So you got 2 weeks. 1 week from today.
I'm going to come in and be like a bumbling idiot. I was like, just do a Q&A and just like we jam somehow.
We're going to see the chatter. See exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, it's really
and she's doing it for show.
Yes. Yeah. Just giving you guys examples.
Anybody
Thanks,
on the Zoom?
Thanks. Okay.
Questions, comments, anything? You may have put it in the chat, but we have not had a chance to read much of it. There isn't that much in there anyways.
Oh my gosh.
Anyone want to unmute? If not, in the process of unmuting really slowly. Carmela, you had a question?
I have a comment. First of all, Megan, especially your energy today, like what a difference between I have seen it during community nights and stuff like that, but you were just on fire today. So whatever this
maybe not having the case hanging
not having like your life in the balance, that has helped a lot.
And then celebrating.
10 days. I also just noticed that this is so much more, maybe it's where I am in my journey, but this is so much more clear and actionable. And I want to shout out Kathy, Tom, and Laura for their workshop last week where they explained visceral drafting, because they were like, you don't know what's going on. And we were like, and then we practiced. So my brain has had a week to really, but then this felt so much more tactical and I could hear it in a whole new way. And I love that you started the pop-up songs clarity, because that's part of my red arrow behavior is vagueness. And then I just kind of stay like a little baby deer and I don't move. So I love the song, and it's just like clarity's what's going to move me forward. My biggest question is, after all your fights, how do you repair?
Okay. Can I come back to let me write that down. I just want to comment on the first part. It's interesting about this being more actionable. You know what's so weird about it is that how it actually happened is we came back Tuesday from our trip, right? So we were acquitted, 3.5 weeks ago? 3.5 weeks ago. That's all it is. Yeah. And we came back to work that week, and then the following week, and then we did our 10-day, 11-day thing. Coming back Tuesday was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I wanted this past Tuesday. Okay. I don't want hard mode. It's kind of, I think, what I was feeling. Like, want things to be a little bit easier. I'm kind of like, 32 months of hell, like working 24/7. Like, I think I felt like it's going to be different. And the reality is it's hard. Like building a business is hard. Getting back into a rhythm is hard, and routine, and getting in sync and working and all. So the challenge I think that we had in trying to figure out what to do, what's the visceral draft of what to do after all this time. it's a living, moving business and things are happening. And then we have family stuff we have to do and all that stuff. So what do we do? And we're going to be off sync. It created a lot of like struggle for us actually, but we documented the struggle, which is what this is, which is what's interesting, right? Because that argument that we did have, once my kind of ego kind of flared down, I don't exactly know where and what. I have to think about it a little bit. We were sitting outside having lunch on Wednesday, I think, or Tuesday, whatever it was, and kind of like what just happened, and we documented it. And which I think it is why it's part of it, why it is so much more actionable, maybe. It happened this week, which generally speaking in lips, we do stuff that happens in that week. But I think all of it kind of came together because it is harder. It is hard mode, trying to figure out what to do. Our routines are broken. And so I think we kind of came in, it's a little bit more challenging than I thought it was going to be. I don't know. But the repair, the question around repair, how to think about the repair.
You know, my visceral reaction on the repair, it sounds very counterintuitive. Like, you know, when you have a fight that there's, you know, you need repair after, and often the best way to think of it is just keep fighting, but with breaks in between. This is the key, the breaks in between. You keep fighting, you'll see that it just gets to be an easier and easier fight, and maybe even become silly. Where fights become unrepairable is when you fight and then you never revisit it. If you end up going back into the fight and the recency and the immediacy of refighting is sooner, you'll be surprised how it just loses its bonfire faster. It's this massive raging flame. It's a half a flame. You'll see every time you refight after like some break in between, even a short bathroom break, you will see that it's just not as big a fight. And the fear of the fight is actually the single biggest, I think, hindrance in repair, right? I don't want that to happen again. As a result of it, now I start making a nightmare of it in my head. They do too. Before you know it, you're looking for any signal that symbolizes anything close to that. Before you know it, avoidance comes in. Right?
And how do you avoid avoidance? If the person in the classroom, just like shuts down and like biting by his.
But there's a point. You have the more reps you have it, like you don't become scared of it. The less reps you have, it becomes lethal. Right. And so, rightfully so. You should be scared of stuff that hurts. Right. But this is the part where the difficult conversations usually is the single biggest in all the research for marriages and relationships. Your ability to have difficult conversations, your ability, it's not even have, but process. And like a difficult conversation isn't a one-sided conversation, isn't hey, I have a lot to say against you, and so you fucking suck and blah, 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 all this stuff. And they're like, that was difficult, right? Good. Next time I'll come back and I'll do it again for you. Like, no, it's a dual mutual way where you'll know when it's right because you both feel great. And you both don't feel
one of the biggest pieces of repair, I was trying to think a few weeks, with this 7 or 8 weeks ago, we went to Miami before, it was like our baby moon before the trial, had a huge blowout with Charlie, Greg, and Wei. Like huge, like I almost flew home. Like, bye, don't want to do it anymore. You guys suck. I think you kind of knew some of the details on that. The hardest thing for me was actually to go to dinner that night. We went to Danny's restaurant. I did not want to go. I was like, I mean, all I want to do is get in the car and fly home. Like, I just don't want to be here. I don't even want to revisit. I want to talk about it. I just want to be out. Being in the car and the avoidance, the Wait. He has trauma when he got
every time he says
they got the car. He was like the Uber. He was like, oh my God, I have trauma from that car experience because not talking for 35 minutes straight in a car when we're used to like Charlie saying nothing, I'm saying nothing. I think Wei had like, oh my God, this is way worse than I thought. Like this is really, really bad.
First time we're visiting Danny's restaurant in Miami, if you ever know how many courses he serves, he decided to go. He closed the restaurant down so there's nobody else even listen to. It's like close the restaurant down.
It's painful to put it now at the restaurant. Nobody else is there. It's just for us, and it's like 6 courses, and we're just sitting there looking at each other.
Like 10 courses.
And then the 20 minutes just, and I had like a.
No.
And then he's like, he's so bad.
No. So like we're honest with Danny, say we fucking hate each other right now. He's like, it's right.
I did, and Alex greeted us. The 3 of them were still getting out of the Uber, and I went, I hate all fucking 3 of them right now. And she goes, great. And I just like, I need to get it out. I was like, we're not in a good place. Like, I just, I needed to like say it to another human being because I was so alone. I felt so alone. I'm like, there's 3 guys and they're fucking talking. Greg and Shirley were talking.
You were talking about
Wait, said nothing. No, we said nothing in the car. We get to the restaurant. Wait was chatting with me. Wait, and I are very tight now because we've had a lot of bad stuff.
They went and chatted in the bathroom for entire multi-courses. Oh, very nice chatting.
Not in the bathroom, but not in the bathroom, but whatever. It's okay. In the rumors. No, but like I feel like getting yourself there and so then I opened it up like 20 minutes into it. I just went, this is how I feel. This is what's happening. And I just ranted for probably 10 minutes, to which I think all 3 of them were like, nobody said anything. And I'm like, great. So now we're going to, but keep going. Like,
and then we kept going. And we had more.
He still went 20 minutes not saying a word. And I was like, so then it was like kind of like Greg and Wei and Wei is very quiet, right? So then I'm like looking at Greg, I was sitting next to Greg, like something, like something. So then it just starts. And then it's like, it was awkward for at least an hour.
Oh, more than that.
2?
Yes, maybe. Yeah, it was like a 3-hour meal.
It was awful.
And then Danny keeps us afterwards.
And then
bring out all his scotch, and we're still kind of fighting, right? So we're there with him celebrating his new restaurant, but kind of like awkward.
But you know what?
Drinks. And then I think we fought till 3:30 or so in the morning.
We got back in the morning, and that's why.
And then we were fine the next day.
And then we fought again in Miami. This trip actually we fought,
but much less.
So 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah, but it was much less.
But it usually kicks off a better. You kind of like, I guess everything is like. It's a hard realization that it's always better after you have the big fight. Because it's like tension is building and you want the thing to go the right way, but you're like, nobody's really being honest. And you can kind of feel when it's a little bit like cerebral. You have cerebral conversations. Like, what are we even talking about? Like, is this what our whole trip is going to be like? It's miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of
remember
have to have that before you could.
That trip in Miami, this is like 1 week before moving to DC to go to trial, essentially have our lives in.
Just why I was like, why are we fighting so much over something so stupid when our life is about to implode, so it could implode. So, but just saying all of that, like you just have to kind of like, but just the repair, I guess, to that point is like you have to stay in it and just keep being honest, stay in it, take a break, come back to it, like not.
Which is what I think of. I think of the whole why do cars need brakes? If you're able to navigate difficult conversations, you're not scary. The reason we literally suck at it is because we're so scared of it.
I mean, it led to a whole conversation after our trial of like, why do we have so much conflict? But I felt like I don't want to fight like this anymore. Like the fight should be the 32 months. We shouldn't be. But the reality is like the right kind of fighting conflict leads to really good things, right? So you start to realize you're on the same team and fighting is part of the process of arguing, and conflict is part of.
One way I think of fighting is this idea of no 2 minds work the same.
Right.
If 2 minds worked exactly the same, you'd have no fights. There'll be no misunderstandings.
Right.
There'll be no different mental models, no assumptions, no different data points, but no 2 minds work the same.
Right.
And so when this much information, this much stuff is happening everywhere around us, everything that you're off syncing is either a fight or the beginnings of a fight. And the more off sync you get in different opinions, the worst type of fighting is the silent, hostile fight, right? There's an issue, but we're not going to talk about it. And then we're not going to talk about anything related to that. And it keeps growing. So it's like the worst kind of mold, like black mold, whatever, like just growing. And you're acting like there's nothing wrong here. Nothing here. Everything's great. No mold here. Everything's great. I like mold actually. But like, it's like just like there's a part where it just gets harder and harder and you can feel it when you try to play offense.
Yeah.
When you try to actually move fast, think, when you play offense, it's not just the visceral drafting and ideal, but even how do I start? And then seeing the speed of adjustment being so slow.
Yeah.
You have all kinds of like mental peas and bumps in your head.
Yeah.
And it's hard to understand why I can't just move. Like, why can't my brain just think and go? Right? What do you want to do? What's your idea? It's like, why are you having so much trouble? And it's usually filled with static, right?
Yeah.
So
many different thoughts through my filters through. We could talk about some of it. We could talk about after. Anybody on Zoom have questions or thoughts or reactions before we go? I don't exactly know what I'm going to do next week, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Do you believe her?
I'm excited.
Huh? It's going to be great. Like Kyle always says, it's going to be great.
I'm expecting another decade lasting like TED Talk level.
See what you just did, Nicole? I like the expectations up. Expectations are up.
Or you can just really suck. That's okay too.
It's okay.
Right?
It's okay. I'm not going to prison, so there you go.
That's the phrase of Megan everywhere, right?
No.
Whenever she has a complaint,
Whenever I
you're
have a
not going to
complaint,
prison.
Greg and Charlie just have you're not going to snap me right back in. No complaining. Tired doesn't matter. Sick doesn't matter.
There's no more salmon, only chicken I don't like. You're not going to prison.
Wait, Claire, who makes you laugh? Charlie or me or both of us? Claire said, I love your honesty. You make me laugh. I'm curious if it's you or me or if it's both. Oh, both of us. Nice. Thanks, Claire.
Thank you.
Well, fun to have all of you. Yeah, you can email us, obviously, megachar@nextjump. If you have comments, thoughts, reactions, questions. I'll be here next 2 weeks. That'll be Charlie. And then
I do feel the entire work that we have been trying to do. I mean, we've been trying to figure out, I feel it's been at least 10 years trying to build the components of Mod 456.
Yeah.
The 32 months of not only going through this horrible crucible ordeal, but then winning adds a level of clarity where suddenly all the signals and then also all the noise that doesn't matter showed up. So it's kind of now putting all the pieces together to go through iterations to teach it and put the building blocks in the right order.
Yeah.
So we know visceral drafting is definitely at the core of it, but there are now components of seeing where it goes wrong, where it goes right. And so it's funny because even our lawyers who are the best in the world, they use the same language now. When they meet us, they're like, say, so my visceral draft is, right? And they start visceral drafting.
Plan A and plan
right?
B.
Plan A, plan Z. Like it's,
do you feel gaslit when they do that with Charlie? Your plan Z would be, he would feel gaslit.
I love it. Anyways. All right. You guys enjoy.